am Shaina Marandiang.
I'm Charjin Mimbribe.
I'm Atlante Flores.
And we are the Group 2.
Before we start, we have a recap. So last week, our last topic, we talked about the ICT. So what is ICT? ICT is the information and communication technology pertains to the unification and integration of telecommunication lines. Wireless or not, computer, software, and systems that enable access, storage, transmittal, and manipulation of information. And what is digital age? So, what is digital age? Digital age is a period in human history that states when computers were introduced in the 1970s. So our topic for today is about the
History of Computer, Basic Computing Period, and Unit 2.
On this topic, there's have three objectives, which is number 1,
gain familiarity with the different discoveries during the different periods.
and number 2,
Learn about different inventions and discoveries during the electromechanical age that lead to the invention of today's technology.
and number 3 objective is identify different technologies and their improvement during the different generations. So what comes in our mind when we hear the computers? So the meaning of computer is an electronic machine that collects information, store it, process it according to user instructions, and then returns to the result. Also, a computer is a programmable electronic device that performs arithmetic and logical operation automatically using a set instructions provided by the user. There's have 8 period when the computers created. First period, which is pre-modern computing or pre-19th century. In this period, there's have two inventor, which is Blaise Pascal and Charles Babbage. Blaise Pascal in 1642, he created the mechanical calculator, also known as the Pascaline, capable of performing addition and subtractions. And the second one is Charles Babbage in 1822. He designed the difference engine on early mechanical calculator and conceptualized the analytical engine, a mechanical generation purpose computer. And mechanical computing, 19th century. So Charles Babbage continued work on the analytical engine, and which had a concept of loops, additional branching, and memory. And the second inventor, which is Ada Lovelace in 1843, he also wrote the world's first programming and instructions for the analytical engine, to making her the world's first programmer. So it comes in electromechanical computing or late 19th to early 20th century. Hermann Hellerate, 1880s, who also invented the punch card tabulating machine, and it is used for processing data in the 1890 US Census. And his company eventually became IBM. Early electronic computing, 1930s to 1940s. Konrad Zuse in 1930s to 1940s also created the Z3, which are one of the first electromechanical binary programming computers. Next is Alan Turing in 1936. He also developed the conceptual of a theoretical computing machine, and now known as the Turing machine, which laid the foundation for modern computing theory. In 1944, Colossus was designed by Alan Turing and others. It was the world's first programmable digital computers and used for code breaking during the World War II. First generation computer in 1940 to 1950s. which is the ENIAC or the Electronic Numerical Integrator computer, is invented in 1945, and it is one of the earliest general purpose electronic digital computers and designed by J. Pascal Urquhart and John Mokchay. In 1951, UNIVAC or Universal Automatic Computers was also invented by Urquhart and Mokchay. UNIVAC became the first commercially produced computer. Transistorized computing in 1950 to 1960, transistor was invented by three inventors, and they are John Bardeen, Walter Brattain, and William Shockley. A transistor, it is a small and more reliable replacement for vacuum tube that enabling to development of smaller and faster computing. In 1959, IBM 1790, it is an early transistorized mainframe and computers. IC or integrated circuit era in 1960s to 1970s, integrated circuit was invented by Jack Helway and Robert Noyce in 1960s, that leading to miniaturize and increase computing power. In 1964, IBM System 360 was introduced the family of compatible computers and revolutionizing computers architecture and making software more portable. In 1970s to 1980s, microprocessor revolutions. The Intel 4004 in 1971, it was the first commercially available microprocessor that making the beginning of the microcomputer era. Apple I and Apple II in 1976 to 1977, it was developed by Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs, and this is the microcomputers that help popularize personal computing.
Basic computing periods ages. First, pre-20th century early concepts and mechanical calculators. The inventors and contributors in ancient times to late 19th century was Blaise Pascal, invented in Pascaline. Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz was invented stepped reckoner. Charles Babbage invented difference engine. Ada Lovelace invented first computer programmer. Second is early 20th century mechanical and electromechanical computers. The inventors or contributors in 1920s to 1940s was Konrad Zuse Z3 electromechanical computers. Howard Aiken invented Harvard Mark I electromechanical. George Stibitz invented complex number calculators electromechanical. Third is mid-20th century, first generation computers and vacuum tubes. Inventors and contributors in 1940s to early 1950s was John Presper Urquhart and John Mauchly. Was invented ENIAC electronic computer. Alan Turing invented Turing machine theoretical foundational. John von Neumann invented von Neumann architecture. Fourth, late 20th century, transistors and integrated circuits. Inventors or contributors in 1950s to 1960s. Jack Kilby and Robert Noyce invented independent development of the integrated circuit. IBM 360 series, early mainframe, DEC, PDP-8 mini computer, Grace Hopper invented COBOL programming language. The fifth is 1970s microprocessors and personal computing. Inventors, contributors in 1970s. Intel invented Intel 4004 first microprocessors. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak invented Apple I and Apple II. Number 6. 1980s rise of PC industry and GUIS, inventors or contributors. In 1980s, IBM invented IBM PC, popularizing the PC market. Microsoft inventing MS-DOS Windows. Apple Macintosh with graphical users interface. Richard Stallman GNU Project Free Software Foundation. Number 7. 1990s Internal and World Wide Web. Inventors or the contributors. In 1990s, Tim Berners-Lee invented invention of the World Wide Web. Mark Andreessen invented Mosaic web browser. Louis Torvalds invented Linux kernel. Sergey Brin and Larry Page invented Google search engine. Number 8, 2000s to present mobile computing and cloud services. Inventors or contributors in 2000s to present. Apple iPhone and iOS. Google invented Android OS. Amazon invented Amazon Web Services. Mark Zuckerberg invented Facebook social media. Elon Musk invented innovation and electric vehicles.
So, this is our last topic, which is the history of computers, generation of computers. The first generation in 1940s to 1950s, which is the vacuum tube. The inventor is Conway Zeus, and the often created with creating one of the earliest programmable computers, the Z3 in 1941. The key features of first generation is this generation used vacuum tubes for electronic components. These computers were large, consumes a lot of power, generated a significant amount of heat, and were prone to frequent failures. Advantages of the first generation is the only electronic devices, and the disadvantages is the large in size. The second generation in 1950s to 1960s, which is the transistors. So John Bardeen, Walter Brittain, and William Shockley invented the transistors in 1947, which revolutionized computer technology. Transistors replaced vacuum tube, leading to smaller, more reliable, and faster computers. As a result, computers become more accessible and could be used for a wider range of applications. Advantages of second generation, the size reduced fast and most reliable. The disadvantages is quickly overheated. Generation in 1960s to 1970s, which is IC or integrated circuits. So, it was invented by Jack Kilby and Robert Noyce, are created with independently developing the integrated circuits in the late 1950s. Then integrated circuits allowed multiple transistors and other components to be fabricated on a single piece of semiconductor material. This led to further miniaturization and improvement performance. So the advantages of the third generation is very small in size, will not break down easy, consume less electricity. Then the disadvantages is the sophisticated maintenance problem. The fourth generation in 1970s to 1980s, which is microprocessors, was invented by Ted Hoff and his team, and at Intel developed the first microprocessor, the Intel 4004 in 1971. Then microprocessors combine the CPU and other components on a single chip. making computers even smaller and more powerful. This led to the rise of personal computers. The advantages of the fourth generation: more powerful, small computers, they could be linked to form networks and general information. Then, in the fourth generation, Apple product was released. The fifth generation in 1980s to present, AI and beyond, was invented, but this generation is characterized more by advancement and software, the artificial intelligence, rather than specific inventors. So, AI, the first generation, focuses on AI, natural language processing, and parallel processing. Computers have become immensely powerful, enabling complex tasks like speech recognition, machine learning, and deep learning. The advantages of the fifth generation is develop devices that respond to natural language input and are capable of living and self-organization. That's all for today. We hope that you learned something and you get some information about our topic. So, thank you and God bless you all.